Okay, so this is our last section, and we're looking at compound inequalities now. So instead of just looking at one inequality, we're going to start looking at two. So a compound inequality just means that we have two inequalities that are joined by the words and or. Okay, so when you're finding solutions, you find the solutions to a compound inequality either by identifying where the solution sets of distinct inequalities overlap, or by combining the solution sets to form a larger solution set. So we have two different types. So if we the graph of a compound inequality with the word and contains the overlap of the graphs. To the two inequalities that form the compound. So right here we can see that we have x is greater than or equal to 3, so we graphed our x is greater than or equal to 3, and we have x is less than or equal to 7, so we graphed that as well. So the place that they overlap is in the middle. So when it's joined by and, that means that we're just shading in the middle, okay? So we can rewrite a compound inequality involving and as a single inequality. For example, if we look up here, we have x is greater than or equal to 3 and less than or equal to 7. So we can write this as 3 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to 7. Okay, so you read this as x is greater than or equal to 3 and less than or equal to 7. Another way to say it is that x is between 7 and 3 inclusively, or inclusive. Okay, so in this example, inclusive means that the solutions of the inequality include that 7 and 3. So we've got that's it's less than or equal to on both of them. That means that we can use the word inclusive. Okay, so when we graph the inequality, the compound inequality that contains the word or, it contains each graph of the two inequalities that form the compound. So we have that x is less than -2, so we've got our open circle at 2 and it's shaded to the left. We have x is greater than or equal to 1, so we've got our closed circle and it's shaded to the right. So the compound inequality is x is less than or equal to 2 or greater than or equal to 1, or less than -2 or greater than or equal to 1. So we've got both of those graphs on the same number line. Okay, so if we go to the next page, we just want to write this out. So the first thing it says is all real numbers that are greater than 2 and less than 6. So we have the word and here. Okay, so we can write this as our smaller number. So we're going to have -2. It says greater than and less than, so there's no equals in here. So we have less than 6, or less than x, sorry, is less than 6. Okay, so all real numbers that are greater than 2. So if we look at this in a different way, we can have x is greater than -2 and x is less than 6. Okay, so when we put that together, it's going to be this one sentence right here. And when we graph that, we're going to have, if I have this as -2, this is going to be -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so first thing we have is x is greater than -2, so we've got an open circle at 2, and we're going to shade to the left, or to the right, excuse me, and we have x is less than 6, so we have an open circle at 6, and we're going to shade to the left, so we are shading in the middle of these. So that's what our graph should look like. Okay, if we say all real numbers that are less than 0 or greater than or equal to 5. So the first thing we see is all real numbers less than 0. So we have x is less than 0. Or we just write the word or in the middle. And we have x is greater than or equal to 5. So greater than or equal to 5. So if we come down here, we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so the first one we have is x is less than 0. So we've got an open circle at 0, and we are shading to the left. And then we have or x is greater than or equal to 5. So greater than or equal to means that we have a closed circle at 5, and we are shading to the right. Okay, and that's going to be our graph. Okay, so when it says what's the difference between x is between -5 and 7 and x is between -5 and 7 inclusive. So remember that inclusive means, I'm just going to write this out, inclusive means including the numbers. Including the numbers. So, and between maybe not between, maybe if we say just between does not include the numbers. Okay, so when we have our inclusive, that means that we're going to have -5 is less than or equal to x less than or equal to 7. And our between is -5 is less than x less than 7. Okay, so we want to write the inequality from the phrase. So all real numbers greater than or equal to 4 and less than 6. So we've got -4 is less than or equal to, so we're putting it inside. And then x is less than 6. Okay, so notice we have or equal to on our first one and just less than on our second one. So if we have -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's going to give us a closed circle at -4 and an open circle at 6. And we are shading in the middle. Okay. Our next one, we have all real numbers that are less than or equal to 2.5 or greater than 6. So we have x is less than or equal to 2.5 or 2.5, or x is greater than 6. So if we have -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Why not? Let's put that -3 on there. Okay, so we have x is less than or equal to 2.5. So I'm going to go over to 2, go in between 2 and 3. We're going to have a closed circle, and we are shading it to the left. And at 6, we have an open circle and shading it to the right. Okay. So when we solve these, what we're going to do is we have -3 is less than or equal to m minus 4 is less than -1. All we're going to do is when we move things away from this m, the m is always going to be in the middle. We are going to do it to both sides of the inequality. So we're going to add 4 to all 3 spaces. So we're going to add 4 over here, add 4 to the middle, and add 4 to the other side. That's going to leave us with 1 is less than or equal to m is less than 3. Okay, and when we graph it, we have 1, 2, 3. We're going to have a closed circle at 1, open circle at 3, and shade in between. Okay, So if we come down here, we're going to do the same exact thing. So you have -2 is less than 3y minus 4 is less than 14. So we're going to add 4 to all three spaces. That leaves us with 2 is less than 3y is less than 18, and we are going to divide everything by 3. And that leaves us with 2/3 is less than y is less than 6. Okay? So we are going to have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so 2/3, we're going to start at 0, go up about 2/3, and we are going to have an open circle at 2/3. So an open circle right around there. We're going to have an open circle at 6, and we are going to shade in between. Okay.